Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to today's grain market blast with myself and the amazing Angie Setzer, where Angie will be providing a rapid roundup of the latest pricing flows and market moving news in agricultural markets. But before she does, and I know she's really stressing and she really wants to unmute herself and start cracking on, but before she does, let me get the legals out of the way. So nothing discussed on this spaces session constitutes trading or investment advice or infers any kind of endorsement by PIQ Global Limited, Trains PIQ or PIQ Suite, or indeed that of the hosts, which, as you know by now, is myself, Mr. Ryan Paisley, and the amazing Mrs. Angie Setzer. Good morning.
What up, dog?
Word.
How are you today? Happy Tuesday. How are we recovering after the extra sharp cheddar before bed last night? Well, I hope.
Yeah. I think you called that right. I had some interesting dreams.
I don't want to live in a world that you can't eat cheese before bed. Okay, I'm just saying.
Exactly.
That's it.
Like
So to hell with it.
I do it just to feel alive. I like the rush.
In your 20s, it was different things. Nowadays, we're just like, oh, this is
No,
gonna
it's
make my
extra
tummy
mature
hurt.
cheddar.
This is gonna make my tummy hurt later. So here we go. But all right, ready to talk about markets. Everyone's like, geez, Angie, just get on with it.
Yeah.
Then I'm willing to meet your needs, I guess. Market wise, here we've got the Trump and Putin, President Trump and Russia's President Putin will speak today. I'm not quite sure. Someone said between 8 and 10 p.m. Moscow time. And so I haven't had a chance yet to see what time it is in Moscow, but I would imagine we're probably talking late morning here. And so there's going to be that conversation. I heard a really in-depth analysis this morning that I just felt I had to share because it was so poignant and just beautiful. They said that the call today will either result in further moves towards peace or an escalation. So there you have it. That,
Oh, there you go.
I
Flip a
mean,
coin.
I shouldn't pick on other experts because I'm sure I've said something equally, like pedantic or whatever, pedestrian, whatever the word is there during my own analysis at some point. Probably will today even. But it was just one of those things that we'll continue to watch. We did see Russia come out today and say, or overnight anyway, say that another part condition of what they're asking for here, because remember they have conditions and they're the same conditions that they've really talked about for the last 3 years when it comes to peace. They do not want foreign troops on Ukrainian soil. They do not want Ukraine able to join any sort of military alliance. They want the land that they have claimed,
Yeah.
basically internationally recognized as their own. And then the one this morning was they want all foreign arms sales to be stopped, basically, and U.S. military aid to also be stopped. Now, of course, the world's like, whoa, bro, we can't. That's crazy. Like, you're going to restock your arms. You're going to do a lot of things during the 30 days or whatever it is that we're working towards peace in. While others are like, it's not that crazy. Like, it's just, it's a 30-day moratorium or whatever, if you will, and then they're able to kind of stock up after the long-term peace accord is signed. So pick your bet, I guess, or place your bet as we work into today, what this will look like. But I would caution. There's been a lot of people who are like, yes, we're going to have the ceasefire, and then peace is going to be had, and grains are going to need to fall off just simply because. And I just would caution that I think we're a heck of a lot further away from that than maybe indicated. Now, having
Yeah.
said that, we'll probably have a ceasefire agreed and signed, and all three parties will be in the White House this afternoon just to put egg on my face. And cool, let's do it then. But overall, we'll be watching to see what that looks like and what that will mean. The biggest thing I would say that I'm focused on today, and I think all parties are kind of focused on, is trying to figure out more of what the reciprocal tariffs will look like when rolled out April 2nd. Treasury Secretary Bessent, spoke this morning during an interview and kind of just indicated that, each country is going to get a tariff number. So there's been some questions as to what this will look like or how they're going to really codify or put together all of these things, because like, okay, steel and aluminum getting tariff 25%. 15%, bip, bop, boop, put it into the computer, you're good to go. But we're talking about other factors at play that we're taking into consideration, we being the administration, and that's wages, regulation. We mentioned that yesterday, like seatbelt requirements, airbag requirements, that could come into play on automobile tariffs, or what should be charged, what might not be charged. Value added taxes are going to play a role. If like in China, they love their VAT. So they do in Europe too, right? I think so. Like you've got, some of that coming into play. You did see Besant say this morning, though, that 15% of the world's countries will bear the bulk of tariff weight. And so that's interesting because I can just picture, India is probably one of them that's like, oh crap. Because that's been one of
Yeah.
the things that's been kind of passed around for a while, is that India has some of the larger trade barriers, if you will, between them and the US. And so, there's a few things that we will be watching. He did say, percent being key in this sentence, that tariffs will be stacked in some instances. That goes into play with the 15% of countries, yada, yada, yada. But there is a lot of talk now that this will likely result in a rollback of tariffs on Mexico and Canada. So this could be supportive. And there's also added talk, I forgot to mention, not only are we talking the wages, the regulations, the tariffs charged, the value added taxes, and all of that. Trump wants to also take into consideration whether they've been friendly or combative, or cooperative or combative. It sounds better when you say those two words together versus friendly and combative. So that's an extra, sort of seasoning on top of the dish that we're getting ready to eat. And so that's really something that we're really trying to pay close attention to, just simply because we don't know what any country is going to see, and how they're going to respond. And there has been talk that it could take several weeks to roll out the final thing. On the positive side, though, just kind of talking about trade here, there have been more articles. I think it was the Wall Street Journal this morning. It may have put one out. If it wasn't them, it was Bloomberg. And watch, it was Reuters that did it. But anyway, Jameson Greer, is playing catch up to a certain extent. They were talking about Greer and his role in the administration, and some of his, more level headedness that he brings to the table when it comes to some of these rollouts, some of these conversations, and the things that are happening within the administration. And so Greer was confirmed in late February. So he's kind of fishing behind the net, or you saw some of the tariff acts unveiled prior to his confirmation. And so the conversation now is that you will start to see more of his influence. He's becoming, more vocal in how the country or the administration should approach some of these negotiations, becoming more vocal in trying to scale back some of the roll out and roll off sort of things that we've been having go on. And in addition, another positive sign is that there are reports that Chief of Staff Susie Wells, I am a fangirl of Mrs. Wells, honestly. I should admit that. She seems to be what I want to be when I grow up, to a certain extent. Not politically speaking, just from a professional standpoint. She seems to be good, smart people. She's also stepped in and said that she wants to work more to address the business's concerns. So you have seen Greer open up public comments. You've got Wiles. I think I said Wells. It's Wiles. Sorry. Working to. I say I'm a fangirl and then call her by the wrong name. I'm great at that. She's working to discuss with businesses and some of these other things. So hopefully we'll see a more level-headed approach to some of these rollouts. And once they're out, they're, buy the rumor, sell the fact, maybe a little bit more in the opposite way in this regard. And so we'll be watching that. Market-wise, physical market-wise, there were a lot of developments here, are starting to see a lot of developments around the world that'll be important to pay attention to. We've got Indonesia increasing their palm oil export tax. It's not significantly, but they're going to bump it up from 3% to 7.5%. That was the range prior. It's going to 4 to 10% now. Indonesia has increased their biofuel blend rate to 40% at the start of the year. They're working to fully implement that with the goal of hitting 50% by the end of the year this year. They need to be putting together funds basically in order to help aid some of the implementation of this, because there's some costs associated with the higher blend rates and some of these other things. And so that is thought to not only help to increase those funds, but also keep more palm oil, closer to home. You are seeing an official proposal to have Brazil raise their ethanol blend rate to 30% from 27%. That's been discussed. I think it has one more hurdle to jump to get there. And so that's something to pay attention to at a time when 30-day rainfall looks like it'll be less than normal for a good portion, 40 to 60% potentially, of Brazil's safrinha crop over the next 4 weeks. There'll be several things that will play a role in all of this as we move ahead, and something to watch. But in the end, we got to get this freight thing figured out, and a few other things, biofuel demand here in the US, and all of that to get us on the straight path. So it's a lot of stuff. I'm sorry, I feel like I just said a million words, and I know I did. Thank God that you guys don't get charged by the sentence that I say. But lots to watch, all very important, all with major implications in movement and whatnot. If we do see a rollback on the Mexico and Canada tariffs, I feel like that'll be somewhat supportive, or at least a little bit of a relief. We don't seem to
Oh,
be
you know
fighting
what?
right now.
Oh no,
Yeah.
sorry. Sorry, I'm just seeing a headline saying Trump team
Yes.
explored a simplified plan for reciprocal tariffs. But I do remember myself and Mr. Michael Brown reading this out this
Earlier.
morning on the Morning Blast. Basically, I think the headline we had this morning is basically the whole story is, yeah, they thought about using simplified tariffs, but then they thought, no, we're gonna just chuck entire tariffs at entire nations. So it's a bit of a
Yes.
non-story. I'm not quite sure why the Wall Street Journal were re-upping this afternoon. Potentially they
That's
just want more clicks.
right.
Yeah,
It's a good one to copy and paste and toss into like Chat
yeah.
GPT and be like, tell me what it says.
Well, yeah, it's like,
So
especially I think they re-upped it for the APAC session, the European session, and now the US session,
yeah,
and it's the
yeah,
same
yeah, yeah. It
story.
makes sense. It was updated. There's probably been a couple words that have been changed.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
says
exactly
updated
that.
at 9:23, so they probably added in, I would guess, like Basent's conversation this morning, if you scroll through it or something like that, to
Yeah,
where they can be like, it's a new headline.
yeah, yeah,
But that
exactly
is part of the problem that we have right now, to be completely honest, is like, if you're not completely involved every minute of every day, there is a recycling of headlines that
yes.
happens that creates the same like it's like a cycle of emotion. And a lot of
Oh,
it, if you dig
completely.
into
It's like,
it, right, it's the
yeah.
same shit as yesterday, just packaged with a little
Well,
bit different
one of my
headline or
biggest
whatever.
one of my biggest bugbears is when I see people like putting breaking, and
Yes.
it's news that came out a day before,
Or
and
if they
but obviously,
retweet something from the
if
day by.
you're, yeah, but the problem is, if you are event trader or whatever, and you're staring at your trading ladders, you see that and it might be important news, but it turns out it was an APAC session. You haven't got the time to kind of digest that and think, hang on, is this old news? Because you're going to trust that source and say it's breaking. So
Yes.
you are liable to trade thinking this is the first time this news has come out. Whereas the people maybe that you're sitting in the US doing that, but the people that have been sat in the European Open are like, well, hang on, we've already traded this news. This is a
Yeah,
nothing
it's
burger.
old. Yeah,
So
we chewed
yeah,
through this a while ago.
if I had my way, people would be enforced that they could only use breaking within the first, say, 20 minutes of a headline coming out. But no, yeah, but that's why everyone should use PIQ, the best news aggregation software out there.
100% indoors.
Shameless plug. And on that note,
Right? I like it.
right,
I'm so proud of you. You're
Angie.
getting better at the self-selling.
Oh, I'm
Like, look
still
at you
awful.
go.
I'm
I know,
awful.
it's
I
all right. I'm
cringe every
terrible at
time.
it too. That's a, do you
Um,
want to sign up? Don't. That's what I tell my growers.
yeah,
Like, I'm just
yeah,
like,
right. I'll give it to you for free. Just ask me politely.
it's just terrible. But yeah,
Um,
on that note, happy Tuesday. We'll see what Trump and Putin, by this time
yes,
tomorrow, we'll know if it's escalation or closer to peace. Yeah. Trump did say Xi is planning on coming to DC late
yes, he
yesterday,
did.
though.
Yeah,
So we'll watch that. And yeah, giddy up market wise. We'll see how they open here in 30 seconds. And yeah, hopefully your day is a good one.
awesome. Well, thank you so much, and listeners, thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you all tomorrow. Goodbye.